Hey, Rahubat. So, Rahubat means greetings. My name is Saken, and I'm glad to receive three more questions. Remember that we ask for those who would like to send their three questions and upload them to osmvision.wetransfer.com, and we will be able to answer your question, especially if you're not able to visit us physically. And for whatever reason, you must be living on another planet if you're not able to log into the lives. OSM Vision, ask us anything. But anyhow, let's get into the three questions.
Wholeness and love. I have a question in regards to women. Are they supposed to have cycles every month? And then my second question is in regards to
Okay, let's just pause that and answer the first questions. First question: are women supposed to have cycles every month? Yes, is a simple answer because, and again, the title "women" is specific because sometimes we just generalize and put everybody in the same boat, meaning that you could be a supreme being that is not, or for lack of a better term, a god or goddess that's not considered just a woman. So different strokes for different folks. The reason women now have cycles is because you have to understand that the main, I have to be careful because I don't want to get in trouble by women, but it's really about procreation. So a woman's cycle, in terms of getting ready to have eggs and to be those eggs to be fertilized and to procreate and have a child, and because a woman is the goddess or supreme being, as in her matrix is perfect and complete, um, because she's, why we say that she's the goddess is because she's the one that gives birth to everybody on the planet, both male and female. And this is why, the lies of the gods of the Bible, the religious world, lie and tell you that man was first, in the sense that this God, being a man, took dust of the ground and formed a man and then took the rib to form a woman. That's not true. Um, so yes, in terms of procreation, when these cycles happen, is you have to eliminate, you know, if you're not doing that regularly and not and it's a cycle to help rejuvenate and cleanse the body as well. So the the, the simple answer is yes. I also know that because of maybe the pains that women have during their cycles, that predominantly comes down to deficiency in minerals and in not knowing how to um, eat and do the right thing, so that when you are going through these cycles of the process, um, that you won't go through a bad experience. The cramps, the mood swings, and yeah, basically that whole um, energy that a lot of women, particularly in the West, go through during that cycle. And I've also known women who go through the cycle without the pains and without the cramps and the issues, the anger emotionally that comes with that. I shouldn't laugh. I didn't laugh because it's funny, but as a male, some men, when that time of the month comes, they have to be on their best behavior because they have to deal with this kind of like change in the female. So the answer is that yes, but it's not supposed to be painful and all the cramps. So you need to learn and know why that's happening. Like I said, you got to deal with. knowing your body, knowing what you're deficient in, knowing what foods to eat and what not to eat, so that when you go through that process, it's not such a bad experience. It's just a natural cycle that you go through. But of course, there are times that when you get to menopause, as they call it, where you put a pause on the men. um, yeah, so yes, I hope that's helped you. But the diet, the mental state, and other factors do play an important part in how the experience um, you go through. But yeah, I hope that's helped. If not, ask in our classes or ask in the Telegram group and we can expound or elaborate. All right, let's go on to the second question.
Someone mentioned about being abducted by aliens. Can you go into details what that experience is like and what exactly does that mean? Like when, some people get abducted for, say, the good, some get abducted for food and things of that nature. If you could kind of touch on that. And the third,
Okay, so the second question is about being abducted by aliens and what that experience is like. That's actually an interesting question because we're living in a day and time where talk about extraterrestrials, which people refer to as alien, is now normal place. Like, we can just talk about it and have questions like this. But when this wasn't the case many, many years ago, the master teacher, Partner Babyalun, Dr. Malachi Z. York, from the jump, he came saying, I'm an extraterrestrial. I'm from a planet called Risk, from a galaxy known as Ilion in the 19th galaxy. And he spoke about other types of extraterrestrials, and he was explaining to us about some extraterrestrials that don't have emotions, the ones that most people have encountered and referred to as the Greys. And there were, some of these Greys were actually grafted as hybrids by themselves being the original ones who were scouts, um, designed to as probes to come to this planet and then report back and see, like what the atmosphere is like, can life be sustained on here, etc., etc. Those beings, known as the Maccabeans, they were designed for that. But then the reptilians, different types of reptilians, draconians, would abduct them and produce hybrids. And in the end, you had so many different species of greys that don't have emotions and don't have feelings. And they're like doctors who would experiment on, like this is where the whole animal mutilation came about, where farmers would just see cows cut up because they would, abduct some of these to just like what our doctors and people, scientists do in laboratories where they take, mice and other animals and they experiment on them and cut them up and do certain things. It was the same with these greys on animals, and then it went on to being on humans as well, because some humans, like the Adamites, were mixed with animals, so they saw their DNA as being the same, like they were mixed with the Homo porcine, canine, and simians. And so some of these greys do not have emotions or feelings, so they're like just carrying out experiments. So they would abduct people for that. As you also mentioned, sis, there were also other beings that came here for shopping and to farm and to get food. Um, just like humans will go to, Sainsbury's or any supermarket, Tesco's. I don't know if I'm allowed to mention these names, but the supermarkets that we are familiar with in the UK, in the US it might be, I don't know, whatever, a Walmart or whatever. They will go to these supermarkets and buy chicken, lamb, beef, freeze them to eat. Some humans go hunting where they take guns and they shoot at, deers or what birds, and they take them home and they eat them. So it's the same when you look at extraterrestrials that are abducting humans, and some of them would abduct even children or younger ones because they like the adrenaline, which um, when humans are frightened, they produce this adrenaline, which gives, unfortunately, the taste of meat. I know it sounds terrible speaking about humans in that way, but it's the exact same way the chickens and, as I said, the cows and the lambs, or how they feel when we eat them. So this is why we don't advocate eating of animals, because it's not really supposed to be what you eat anyway. But yeah, so the abductions vary, and this is why a lot of missing children were put on, the cartons of milk. Cartons, is that the right word? It sounds funny. Hmm? Carton, that's it. Yeah, when you speak different languages, sometimes the words in your head and the tones are completely different. But anyway, so yeah, you will see pictures of missing people. And over a period of a year, there are like so many people go missing that can never be found. And unfortunately, a lot of that may be due to being abducted. Now, you asked me what's the experience. I have not been in that position, so I can't give you the experience. But based on what some people that survive this, obviously there are hundreds of movies that relate to being abducted. The Fourth Kind is one you can watch, and that was obviously talking about a woman's child that was abducted, and the whole movie was about trying to get her back. There's Poltergeist. There's so many movies that have talked about abduction. And the accounts when these people are put into something called hypnotic regression, which is where you're able to recall things from your subconscious, to relay the experience that you had. And as I said before, some of the accounts are based on people being probed, like I said, like a lab rat, and being inserted with things. Some of it's very painful, some of them are cut. All types of devices are inserted in them, tracking devices, so they can, like if you're carrying out an experiment, you may do something and you have to wait over a period of time to see the outcome, and you may insert a tracking device and come back again when that time has elapsed, abduct them again to see the outcome. And some beings are actual offspring of extraterrestrials that have had sexual relations with humans and have produced offspring. And some beings that came from other worlds, like from Venus, from different places that have come here and have offspring. So you have children who have abilities and feel different because they're not entirely from here, they're hybrid. And so their parents or their, relatives will come and abduct them, check on them, see how they're doing. What's interesting though is that around the world, different parts of the world, people get abducted, and the beings that abduct them tend to be like them. So you often hear about the Greys, you hear about the Pleiadians, the blonde hair, blue eye beings, but rarely do you hear about the Negroid extraterrestrials that or Negroid people that have been abducted by extraterrestrials that have had that bad experience, or an unpleasant experience. Normally, the ones that have a good experience are beings that are taken and they're given information, shown certain things, and then asked to go and spread that information to humanity to help them change their course of direction. Because when you're dealing with the intergalactical federation or the community of galaxies, they're not really allowed to interfere with our natural organic development as a species. So they will interject if it's going to have a devastating, excuse me, a devastating effect on the entire planet, which other stakeholders, beings extraterrestrials that have been living here for years in the deep seas, in the on the planet amongst us, in caverns and all kinds of places in the mountains and for deep forests, and of course in the skies. If it's going to have an impact and they have a stake in the planet, they're going to interject in some way. This is what happened with the Admiral Byrd, who stumbled into Shambhala, but it was by design because these extraterrestrials, they took control of his craft and guided him and brought him to Shambhala and showed him different subterranean worlds and spoke to him about the fact that they chose him so they can actually pass on the message. And he had a diary that he recorded things, and he came back and tried to warn humans about. And I think it tied into the time of, yeah, they were telling him about when the atomic weapons was used first, like in Hiroshima and Nagasaki, with with the wars, and what that the risk of that damaging and splitting the planet completely and destroying it. So some extraterrestrials will abduct people that are influential or that have a reach in terms of go out and spread the message. And if you look at most of the religions on the planet, extraterrestrials have come and either abducted or taken people away, or just appeared and spoke to them. Like in the case of, the Mormons, for example, you have Moroni, who appeared to Joseph Smith. He gave him certain information and warned him about, what's to come and to share that message. In the case of Islam, you have Muhammad, where the angel Gabriel appeared to him and took him and, gave him certain information, and he traveled on the Burak, this kind of craft, to go to what they call the seventh heavens. And obviously, with less information, they were interpreting that as a donkey or some kind of donkey, but we know that it was an extraterrestrial craft. And in the case of Christianity, again, you have, many, many incidents, like in the book of Daniel's, Ezekiel's will, the crystal city in the book of Revelations, and so forth. The craft that the wise men were following, the cloud that the children of Israel were, guided with. And all of these are all dealing with crafts and extraterrestrials coming and guiding or helping, as opposed to the ones that beings are being abducted. Even in the case of, like the Hindus, they talk about, even though when they speak of nirvana, they say in the state like, oh, it's what you achieve when you reach a certain attainment spiritually and you don't want to come back. But we know that it's also a place where beings have come from and settled here, And so throughout, even the Dogons, they talk about, these beings coming from, Sirius C, and they had maps of Sirius A and B, and they were talking about, these beings coming out from somewhere else, going into the waters, Dagon, which relates to that fish being. So it all depends on the extraterrestrial and who is abducted, where, and for what reason. But all in all, you have disagreeable ones that have bad experiences, and the people that are abducted are experimented on. You can watch the movie Aliens, they go into this type of thing where some try to mate with different species and they're incompatible, and all types of deformed beings become, part of the history, like the satyrs that are half goat and half man. Dagon talks about half fish, half man. Certain beings have experimented or mixed and produced all these beings that have 6 toes, 6 fingers, hairy bodies like the shaggies I mentioned before, which is known as hirsutism. Like the Hindu beings that have many arms, many legs. These are all experiments by extraterrestrials to create different beings, because at one point it was even a competition to see which extraterrestrials will create the best type of hybrid being, and they used to actually come and show them off. So you have a lot of like Siamese twins, so many different types of things that people have now on the planet, which go back to the genetics or the genes of these extraterrestrial beings mixing with them, like the Deros, who have that trunk like nose, and they're very obese. And you have a lot of people on the planet that are obese with, to a certain level that it's not really dealing with the fact that they eat too much or anything like that. It's genetic. Excuse me. So I hope I've given you a lot regarding that question. So let's go on to the next question.
Is when it comes to different states of consciousness, like from, you know, 3 all the way up to 9D, is that just a state in awareness, meaning that you're going to have higher enlightened experiences, but still remain in like the same setting? It's just like your environment changes, the people around you changes, or are you literally going to a whole different place? One will talk about being able to leave and go and come back. You know, for instance, like you can be here and you can leave your body, go experience other realms, and you come back to the body. And that you have to wake up to that. There are some beings here that has always had the abilities to do that. If that makes sense, and it may not make sense. If you could feel what I'm asking and expand on, what does that look like? Help the people.
Okay, I kind of get the gist of the question. So the question is relating to the different realms and the ability to access them, travel to them, or is it just physical or spiritual? It's a combination of all of what you have said, meaning that we've got 9 realms, and the lowest realm is the physical realm or the material realm that we're in. But we are connected to all of them to a certain degree. And so, in terms of this physical body, you need that to navigate this environment, to be able to walk and use your hands, move things, and so forth, right? So, just because you're able to use this physical body, which we refer to as the skin suit, doesn't mean that you don't have the other counterparts. So, for example, you have the mind, right? We say my mind, but really it's a consciousness that we all tap into, and we call that the mental reservoir. So, although you're physical, you can use your hands to move and your legs to walk, and you know, your mouth to be able to speak, etc. You still have this thing called the mind, which is very powerful and elusive to you because you don't really know where it is. But because you hear thoughts in your head, most people assume that the mind is in their head, and they say that the brain is responsible, the scientist, the brain is responsible for sending messages, because you have a whole network of different networks within you, so that operate. So your nervous system, for example, is one network. You have electrical systems that send electrical signals to your brain, and then within your brain you process this information that deals with you got the skeletal system, the muscular system. You got so many different systems that are coexisting, the digestive system. And so The mind is something that it's existing on its own without your physical body. So it interacts with your body. It's like having a node or a computer on a network, and that network has other computers and other nodes, and you may even have servers that are on that network. And so the mental reservoir is like that mind that you tap into, and you have different access levels because information is stored in different places and some of it is secured. You have what you call your conscious mind, your subconscious mind, and your super conscious mind. This is why we in Wu-Sabat, we encourage people to study not only about their physical body, but the other counterparts as well, your spiritual being, your mental being. And now all of these exist on different realms. So your physical body is one, then you have your spiritual body. Even on the physical, you'll have like the plasmatic you have the liquid you, which deals with like your red and white blood cells. You got lots of liquids within your body, yeah, that form different networks. The water, plasmatic you, etc. So that's so we got the physical realm, we have the spiritual realm, you have the mental realm where it's just mental only, right? And then you have, let's say, the soul realm, and you keep going to the different levels of etheric realm. So, um, you know, ether, ether, but each one of them can be classified in terms of numbers from, let's say, 1 to 9, which would be the lowest number and the highest number. The rest of the numbers are compound numbers. So when we start to talk about astral projection and things like traveling to the other realms, so the higher realms are ether realms, all the way to 9, ether being the highest. And only certain beings can exist on the highest realm, the nine ether realm, which would be our overseers, right? And with each one, they're not like just solid layers as in a strata, like level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4, level 5, level 6, level 7, level 8. Although to comprehend it, you may look at it in that way, but it's more like each realm has various varying degrees. It's like looking at colors, right? So you'll have, the primary colors which mix together, right? So that's red, yellow, and blue. Mixed together can produce millions of variations in color. So millions of variations in what you call red, blue, green, yellow, etc. So even though you might just go red, yellow, blue, green, purple, as you're saying that, you may visualize one particular type of color like green, but there are millions and millions of variations of green. So I'm saying that to say that within each realm, there are variations. And when you go to sleep, where your physical body, the skin suit, it's at rest, it's not moving. And depending on how much sleep you have, most people have, they say you should have, 8 hours a day. But say for those 8 hours, your body is just in slumber, and your other counterparts can travel because you're dealing with energy, but that energy is then coded and connected uniquely to that skin suit. It's kind of like when you watch the movie Avatar, like you have a skin suit that you're connected to. But anyway, so when people astral project, for example, they leave their physical body and go to other realms. Some people can do something called remote viewing, which is you could be conscious and awake physically, but you can go to other realms and see and visualize and see things in that realms as if you were there, right? And so that's dealing with remote viewing. Now, remember what I said about the different variations. So some people might go to a particular realm when they astral project, when they remote view, and they will say, depending on who they encounter and what they meet or what they see on that realm, of the variation of that realm, mind you, they will be like, they might say, oh, this is what is considered to be heaven, not taking into account that that's just one variation of that level. So when they come back and they start to relay messages to people like, oh, do you know what? I went to heaven. I saw this. I met this being. I was shown this. And they say to people, that's heaven, which is not entirely accurate because they've only been to a particular variation of that realm. And others can then go to the other higher realms within that, higher variations within that realm, or a new realm altogether, like just the mental realm where everything is thoughts and mental. And in those realms, you don't need your physical body. So I'm saying that to say that there are different methods and ways of doing that in terms of visiting other realms, being able to tap into them whilst you're conscious, or when you're meditating, for example, or when you're asleep. And some go to, like, you know, the realm known as the soul realm, where they see kind of like lights, you know, like the aurora, the lights, the different variation, and they was called that heaven because of the way it feels to them and what they encounter. And this is where the word, that whole concept of heaven comes from. And then you have, as I said, the other 9 where you can only go to once you've, say, completely crossed over from this physical world, where you're not only visiting and coming back. Some people do it in what they call dreams and visions and so on and so forth. So some you can only go to based on your level of attainment once you've actually finished or left this plane. And this is where the concept of being judged, or you're going to go to heaven or go to hell. Hell are variations of some of the subabodes where the reality that you create is based on the desires that you've had, or the things you've done that have imprinted these nightmares and these horrors that you will experience in that reality when you're there, until you're able to burn them out. This is why it's so important to burn out certain desires and to master the physical realm and deal with what we refer to as the 9 mental diseases, which include, it includes the ego, you know, lust, jealousy, greed, being anger, belief, which is religion. You know, these are states that are predominantly in the lower realm, and this is why you have to master them and learn to be able to not be selfish, etc., etc. So I've given you a lot, but I hope that's answered the question. That was the third question, wasn't it? So yeah, just want to appreciate love and give thanks to your questions. Keep the questions coming, because without the questions, we can't do these particular series of videos, because we only do the videos based on your questions. And please, as much as possible, try to keep the questions direct and succinct to the point, so that we don't have to listen for a long period of time to figure out or find the actual question. Once you've filmed yourself asking these 3 questions, you can upload them to osmvision.wetransfer.com, and we will get your questions answered. And finally, we like to remind people that in order to get the most out of what we're doing by teaching the truth and helping you to live a better life, that you subscribe to OSM Vision for a start, that you like and you share the videos, that you hit the notification bell so that you will be alerted when new content is dropped. But most importantly, we ask you to start your journey by taking the course that we have designed specifically to help you fast track when you're waking up or you're just awoke or you're coming into this spiritual journey and you're a little bit lost and you don't know, well, where do I start? There's so much information, so many people on the internet. Who do I trust? Who do I go to? We have put a course together called Fast Track Your Spiritual and Conscious Journey, which you can start straight away today when you enroll. We also have a physical book that is called Fast Track Your Spiritual and Conscious Journey. Now, this helps you to come up to speed quite quickly, like it's called Fast Track. It's fast tracking you. That's not the being and end all of it. That's when you're now like, okay, I know what's crap from what's true. I know who to listen to and who not to listen to, and it helps you on your journey. Then we have the live classes every Tuesday on YouTube Live at 7 p.m. GMT UK time. And we also have the live classes every Saturday, 7 p.m. GMT UK time, where you can join by Zoom, Clubhouse, or physically as well. And all of this, and most importantly, our Telegram group, which you can join for free, allows you to network and connect with other people on the same journey, and you can share experiences and ask your questions. So make sure you subscribe to OSM Vision, to the Telegram group, like, share our videos, hit the notification bell, and we're here to support you all the way on your spiritual and conscious journey. So until the next time, I'm Saken from OSM Vision, teaching Wu-Sabat, which is the future, given to us by our master teacher, the supreme being in this day and time, known as Dr. Malachi Z.K. York, or affectionately to us as Pa Nabab Yanun. We'd like to thank you once more for your questions and see you in the next questions. Wadu.